to thank the Almighty God for being here today. When I look in the huge crowd of grandkids and many other people that I invited here today, I see faces that I know. Those that I knew long time ago, and those that I would have met in Ghana. It is an opportunity to be here with you. The opportunity to be selected by you, the members agree to speak at this auspicious occasion is a special honor and privilege accordingly that I embrace and cherish wholeheartedly, for which I'm indeed grateful. Because this day, indeed, is an historic one. For the one whose 60th birth anniversary we have a single year to celebrate was not only one of us from Grandview County. He was not only one of Africa's most popular military leaders. He was not only the first president elected through the first multi-party democratic elections in Liberia, but most importantly, he was the one chosen now for wisdom by God to usher in the long-awaited change in the political direction of the nation of Liberia. Though 28 years old at the time, God chose him to lead the revolution of 1980 that thwarted and institutionalized oppression of the rights of the majority populace of the Liberian nation by a small segment of the nation's citizenry. Let me ask your indulgence to pause a moment from the message to reflect on the day of the revolution of 1980 that was led by our son, Dr. Samuel Kaindo. Will you please stand with me? Let us briefly get our heads in recognition of a fallen hero. Thank you very much. You may have a seat. And I want you to realize that this day, even though we are in the church hall, but the man that we are celebrating today was not just an ordinary Liberian, he was a politician. He was a politician, so we had to go that route for a moment. So I want you to just bear with me. I'll be short a little bit, do a little battle cry here. And if you are here with us, and you know this battle cry, please answer me. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me briefly address you on the topic, the Liberian Revolution or Dream Hijacked. The Revolution of April 12, 1980 was one of many military revolutions that swept across the continent of Africa in the 70s and 80s. Many Liberians and friends across the continent of Africa and the global world hailed our revolution. They were convinced that the events of this day were necessary to rewrite the ugly political history of the nation. There is no nation in our one world except in the former apartheid South Africa in Liberia. In Liberia. Where apartheid South Africa in Liberia. In economic, political, and academic opportunities were reserved for people other than the citizens of the nation. For example, and that was my time, a few people here today will attest to this. We have so many young people in our midst that were not affected by these injustices in our country. One, if an indigenous Liberian citizen and an Indian, white Arab, or citizen from the former British colonies were to apply for a business loan from a bank operating in Liberia, there was a 95% chance the foreign applicant will be chosen to be given the loan over the indigenous citizen. The same goes for the indigenous students and foreign students who applied for the same scholarship. Foreign students were always favored over Liberians, over indigenous Liberians to benefit from the scholarships paid. In any civilized democratic government, there must be a voice for any taxpaying constituencies. Unlike Liberia before 1980, where only Monrovia and the cities of the original 5 counties were entitled to these rights. There were taxation of rural indigenous masses without representation in government. There were repressive and suppressive policies of governments and many other discriminatory attitudes and behaviors of the early governments of Liberia following political independence in 1847, led by the American Liberians, elites who were descendants of the free-born formerly enslaved blacks from America who founded Liberia in 1821. Such was the prevailing social, economic, and political condition in Liberia for 133 years. Following the independence of the nation, when the natives were virtually slaves on their own land and were made to labor on plantations, American style, of these American Liberian farms. The indigenous were denied education opportunities, thereby robbing them of the opportunity to compete in the job market. Ladies and gentlemen, it is psychologically understandable that if you mistreat your pet continuously and push it against the wall, against its will, it will fight back with all its might. The indigenous masses were pushed to the wall because they were tired of the repressive and suppressive policies and attitudes of the Liberian government under the American Liberians and decided to fight back. Thus the revolution, justified by the foregoing, was masterminded and executed. On April 12, 2010, by 17 enlisted men of the armed forces of Liberia AFL, or indigenous, led by the then Master Sergeant S.K.D, whose 60th birth anniversary we have come today to celebrate. On the morning of April 12, 1980, at exactly 1 a.m., in the city of Monrovia, when the voice of the young Master Sergeant was echoed on the national radio and television stations of Liberia, the nation was set ablaze by the jubilating